Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, good morning. I hope you are enjoying lectures on soft skills. In the series of lectures, now we have come to the module named Telephonic Communication Skills. Telephone, as you all know, has become a household possession. Most of the communications done today are with the help of telephones. Since man is a social animal, he has to continue a relationship with other individuals. And for this, not all the time he may be able to meet people or to have a face-to-face communication. Hence, the need of connecting people can be effected by telephones. Telephones are the ways to send and receive messages through instruments. Most of our friends, inmates, relatives, kinsmen are spread out at different places, at different distances. And hence, in order to connect with them, we have the facility of telephones. Not only in our lives, but in offices also, it has been observed that a major portion of tasks are being completed with the help of telephones. Telephones play an important role in business as well as in management. You have to send a message, you have to book a railway ticket, you have to place order for goods, you have also to provide food feedback. At the same time, you also have to check and ensure the quality of goods sent and received. And for all that, you cannot go to meet people, because in an age that we are living today, we find ourselves so short of time, hence we rely on telephones. Telephones are the fastest means of contact. You can contact people, you can contact professionals, you can contact sellers, you can contact distributors, you can also contact, if you are a teacher, you can contact your students also with the help of telephones. Hence, people spread out at different geographical locations. The distance that they maintain can be bridged with the help of telephone. Moreover, telephone is a device through which we can send message not only in a very fast manner, but we can also save our precious time. If you want to go and meet a person simply in order to have a discussion on a particular topic, or you want to have some knowledge on a particular subject, all that you can do today is you can, with the help of a telephone, get the proper information even in a less amount of time and even at a less cost. Since most of you, either in business or in jobs, you have actually to meet deadlines, you have actually to have business transactions, you actually rely on telephones. And with the profusion in telephones, it has become a low cost affair to contact people and to communicate. It can actually save us from the hazards of the journey, and not only can it save your time, but it can also help us inform each other in a short time and at a low cost. Hence, telephonic communication today has become vital, and telephonic communication has not only become vital, rather it has become the summum bonum of our life. But then, if you are a professional working in organizations, you should try level best to know how you can best utilize this facility, how you can make a proper use of telephones. But before doing that, let us try to understand that are there some special features involved with this communication through telephone? Yes. If you are having a face-to-face communication, of course, you can satisfy all your curiosities and all your desires, all your queries through clarifications. And moreover, the facility of immediate feedback that is there, since you are talking to a person who is sitting next to you or in front of you, this facility is not possible when you are talking over telephone. Of course, with the advancement in science and technology, and with many other agencies, they are also devising ways and have been successful also, that while you are talking to the other person, you can also see them. But the question is, can this facility be provided to all of us? Since such a facility may be a costly affair and everyone is not in a position to afford it. Hence, we ought to understand the special features that are involved in a telephonic communication. The first and the foremost is clarity. While you are to send a message or you are to receive a message, in both the ways you are communicating. And while defining communication, we had said that it is a two-way process in which we have to keep into consideration the other party's interest, emotion, and we have to seek the cooperation of the other party. Hence, clarity is very important either when you are calling, either when you are giving some information to somebody or you are seeking some information from somebody. Hence, clarity is the first requirement of a telephonic communication. Then comes courtesy. In a telephonic communication, majority of cases, you do not see the other person. As we have already pointed it out in the beginning, that it covers the distance, and the other party whom you are talking to, you are not able to see. Hence, the sort of orientation is needed, because without proper cooperation, effective communication is not possible. Hence, you need to ensure that while you are talking over a telephone, you need to be courteous. There are several ways to be courteous. We'll discuss that also. The first among them is why you are calling a particular person. When you are calling a person, is it the right time to call the person? Is it the right way to address the person? It is the right way to receive the message? Is it the right way to transmit the message? There are all these facilities involved while you are talking over telephone. Then comes consideration. Do you ever know that while you are talking to the other party, you are not able to see the surrounding that he is in? Sometimes, because of certain congestion, the sound may not come clearly. Hence, you are to be considerate, because if time and again you get such requests as, can you be loud, can you be loud, it might be very irritating. Hence, all you need is to have a patience, and all you need is to have a sort of sympathy, rather empathy for the other person, because roles change so frequently, and sometimes you also may be in such a situation when you are not able to receive the proper sound. So a little bit of courtesy and consideration is very important. Next comes brevity. Since while you are talking over telephone, you are spending money or the other party is spending money, of course, this communication cannot go for a long time. It is always better to be brief, and not only brief, rather to be specific. You need to understand what is the purpose that you are calling a particular person. You also need to know for how much amount you should talk to the person. It is not only the question of money, rather it is also the question of the time or for the other party. If he or she is in a proper frame of mind to take your message, if he or she is in a proper environment where he can respond to you, or if the other party is in a conducive environment where he can give you the right information. And for all these, dear friends, you need to follow all these features of telephonic communication. Now, there are two ways of giving the information and receiving the information. And while receiving the call as well as while sending the call, you need to maintain certain etiquettes. You know, most of the offices are having the telephonic facilities. Of course, with the advancement of science and technology, we have email facility and other facility. But then when we come to spoken thing, the first and the foremost, and rather the easiest one to be connected to a person at a distance or to a person geographically separated and spread out is telephone. Hence, while you are going to talk to him, think that you are having a face-to-face communication. Of course, it is not face-to-face, but visualize that you are talking to a person. Imagine the image of the person you are talking to, because you know, the person may at times be a stranger, and most of the time the reputation of the organization that you are working in depends upon the quality of the communication that you are transmitting. Hence, in order to preserve, in order to continue the reputation of your organization and of course of yours also, it is always better to think that you are having a face-to-face communication. Though all the facilities of the face-to-face communication cannot be provided through telephone, but at least we have a voice, and your voice can help to a great extent. How assuring, how reassuring, how convincing, how sincere, how intimate you are, that can be understood through the voice that you convey. Of course, people on the other side, and even you, do not have much time. If you are asked a question, you do not have much time to create the answer, because it is very spontaneous. You cannot keep mum for a long time because you are over the telephone. Hence, while you are talking over the telephone, or you are sending a message, or you are calling, it is always better to prepare yourself in advance as to what information you want. You also should think that if this call can be avoided, but that is possible only when or unless and until the call is so necessary. It is better not to call if it can be permitted. Because when you call, you have certain limitations to follow, certain challenges. You may be, or you may have to deal with strangers who do not know much about you. Now, in such a situation, the way you show your consideration and the way you show your courtesy, it actually matters a lot. You are unaware of the background of the other person. Hence, please visualize that you are maintaining a sort of intimacy. And this intimacy can be conveyed through the use of your voice, through the use of your sentences, through proper vocabulary and all. That can be possible. When you are sending a call, it is always better to maintain certain etiquettes. Friends, we are living in an age of netiquettes. But then in an age of netiquettes, we sometimes forget the basic etiquettes. Actually, the telephonic facility has become so common that people at times do not bother about the consideration of time as well as of the courtesy. So when you have to send a call, first is that you decide whether this call is so urgent or it is so important. If so, it is always better place your own call. For you, it's not better that you should tell your secretary to book a call. You can place your own call, and while placing your own call, before placing your own call, it is better to prepare an agenda. When I say agenda, what I mean is, what is the purpose of this call? How will this call benefit you? Because there are certain important things that you want to know from a call. If it is so, it is always better to keep a pen and paper with you and jot down. Fine. There is no harm jotting down, because if you do not jot down, maybe there are certain pieces of information left and you will have to have another telephonic tag, another call you have to make, and that may really make the other person embarrassed. If you keep a person calling several times, everyone is a human being and he or she may feel distraught and at times distracted. Hence, it is better to plan your call in advance and have an agenda. While you are planning an agenda and while you are sending a call, it's better to introduce yourself. Because, as I said, you may be talking to somebody you do not have any background about. It's better to say, Vinod Mishra, Department of HSS, IIT Roorkee. May I speak to Mr. X? Could I speak to Mr. Y? Now, when you tell the person your name, your affiliation, a sort of background is created. A sort of cooperation ensues from that, and the other person will also respond positively. Once you know the person, because you are going to call the person, hence you might be knowing, so address him by name. People often say, what is in a name? But everything is in a name. Name denotes a sort of cordiality. You are actually becoming close when you address a person by his or her name. You are in an organization, and whatever you are doing is for your organization. Because the image of your organization is represented by the way you are calling, my dear friend. So when you have identified yourself and also mentioned your affiliation, please reveal why you are calling. What is the purpose? You could say, the purpose of this call is to know about a feasible time for your invited talk in my department. So if you say this, the other person will once again create a sort of background. He will know the background, and then communication will become smooth. We have already discussed that when we are communicating, there has to be a common frame. And in a telephonic communication, though we have very short time, but yet we can establish it in the beginning. It is always better to sacrifice little courtesies, I say. How are you? How is the weather? These are the things that are not approved of when you are making an official call. Because it is once again the question of money, and it is once again the question of courtesy. The other person is not your friend, the other person may be a BG official. Hence, it is important that while you are calling, you be very professional. Moreover, when you are becoming professional, it is very important that you maintain a sort of volume which may not appear to be very loud, which may not appear to be a sort of cackling, which may not appear to be a sort of crack, which may not appear to be a sort of distraction for the other person. Hence, while you are discussing, while you are communicating, please maintain, speak clearly, but at the same time, speak in a tone that is permitted. If you feel that you have been able to procure the required information, close your talk. But it is better not to close your talk abruptly or all of a sudden. Use a suggestive language. For example, you can say, "It was nice talking to you, Mrs. D'Souza. I have got the required information and I think it will be my pleasure to talk to you again." Now this shows that how much considerate you are and how much space you are giving to the other party, but at the same time you are also maintaining a sort of etiquette. Sometimes if the two parties involved in a communicative process, they become so much involved and they talk furthers. So in order to show him that you are very sincere, you could say, "Yes, okay, please carry on like this." The other party should never be offended. Sometimes you may call a person, you have not been able to be connected to the person, or because of some sort of urgency you could not continue the call for a long time. In such a case, please close the call saying, "You are sorry, I think I'll be calling you after another 10 minutes. But while doing so, if you have said 10 minutes, please resume the call after 10 minutes. If you feel that even that is not possible, leave a voicemail. But while leaving a voicemail, see to it that the voicemail is complete. The message is complete, my dear friend, because the other person might be in a state of bewilderment as to what you wanted to say. So it is better you continue the communication by leaving a voicemail. Sometimes, and nowadays, because majority of people are connected to telephones, so there might be some problems in connection or in connectivity. Calls may be dropped at times, there may be disruptions, there may be traffic jams, there may be congestions. So, but if you have called, it becomes your responsibility to resume the call by saying that perhaps there was a disturbance in the channel, fine, and while answering the call, because every now and then it is not possible that the call is for you, or you are making a call and the other party gets connected. So sometimes there may be calls for other people, but then you have been tracked. In such a case, even though you feel that it is a sort of disturbance, it is better to answer the call for others saying, "Presently he is not on his desk. I will leave the message, and the moment he comes, he will make a call." Sometimes there may be a need that you may have to transfer the call. While you are transferring the call, please be emphatic to tell him why you are transferring the call, because every now and then for BG professionals it's not essential that he will always be at his desk. So you may have to seek his consent, and if so, you can always say, "May I put you on hold? May I connect you to Mr. X, Mr. Y? I think you won't mind waiting for a while." Dear friends, it's of utmost importance that you maintain the level of cordiality throughout. Communication, as I have repeatedly said in my previous lectures, is the hallmark and the life and blood of all organizations. Hence, you need to be very cooperative, you need to be very cordial, you need to be very convincing, you need to be full of conviction and all. But there are times when you may have to receive the calls. If you are being so sincere while sending the call, the same is expected while you are receiving the call. Sometimes it so happens that a call, that the bell rings and there is no answer. But remember, if you are there, however busy you may be, somebody who is calling you might be because of some urgent purpose. Hence, please respond to the call immediately, but not more than after 3 rings and all. If such a call comes, because you never know from where the call has come, it is actually a sort of etiquette to end all other conversations while a phone call comes. And while you are going to answer, see to it that you allow more room to the other party. And even when you are responding, because who knows, if maybe I have dialed Mr. X, but Mr. Y is picking up, because people change, the desks remain the same, the numbers remain the same. So it is very important that you identify yourself immediately. You say, I am Mr. Jitendra from NPTEL. Fine. How may I help you? This is very important. And when you are receiving the call, please try to create a visual as well as a mental image of the person you are talking to. Because when you are talking over telephone, you actually do not see the other person. There is no immediate feedback, only except your voice. Hence, make proper orientation by imagining that the person who is calling is very intimate. You know, your voice has a sort of quality that should be conveyed, and the quality is the quality of reassurance, the quality of intimacy, the quality of being businesslike, the quality of being sincere, the quality of being loyal, the quality of being enthusiastic, the quality of showing your readiness and willingness to take the call. If sometimes or the other you are in a support role, if you are the person who will first have the call and then transfer it, it is always better to respond positively. Sometimes it so happens that even in an organization also, when we receive a call from a person whom we are not at good terms, we may be angry or we may blurt out, but that is against etiquette. It is always better to respond positively, even if you are in a support role, and even if the person who is calling doesn't have a good term, but please respond positively. You see, it is the gesture that matters, and good gestures always mean good business. Take the message carefully. If you are not the person who has been called, while mentioning the message, while jotting down the message, please write the name of the person who is calling. There is no harm if you can clarify or verify the names by seeking the spelling of the person. Because you know, if you write the name of a person in a wrong manner, that may also be considered as a sort of insult. So there is no harm repeating the spellings of names, and it is always better to mention the telephone number from which the call had come, because the call might have been very urgent, and the moment you have jotted down the message, it becomes rather your responsibility to pass on the message to the person who had been called. Use the caller's name as you had done while you are placing the call, and it is better to continue saying or using pleasant terms such as please and thank you. There is no harm if you say, I appreciate receiving a call, though I am sorry I have not been able to connect you to Mr. X, but I think the moment he comes, he will give you a message or give you a call. In business organizations, things often go wrong, and maybe sometimes the call comes from a complaint, in the form of a complaint from a customer who is angry, a customer who becomes very aggressive. In such a situation, while you are responding to the call, please be patient, stay calm, and listen to the problem and say, I have jotted down your concern and I think very soon we are going to respond to you. Allow the caller to hang up even after the conversation comes to a close. This means that you are providing more room to the other party. And ultimately, and the most important of all, is the sort of language that you use. Of course, here, since you do not have a face-to-face communicative facility, it is your voice, as I said, your voice has an intentional meaning, your voice has an intentional language. So be cordial, be polite. It is always better to avoid using a negative term such as no. Somebody calls for Mr. X and you say, no, he is not here. Or he is calling you regarding a particular issue or a subject. You should never reply in the negative. You can always say, of course, I have jotted down your request and I'll see how I can help. It is always pertinent to avoid the use of language which appears to be very embarrassing. For example, you have to, you need to, why didn't you? Instead of you, it is always better you can reply in such a way, we advise you, or I would like you, will you please, would you please. I mean, since you are communicating with a person who may not be knowing you or you may not be knowing him, he actually will have a sort of impression about you. Hence, care ought to be given to the language, and language is in your hand because you have the words which you convey. It is always better to avoid using I can't do that. You can always say, tell me what I can do for you. You'll have to speak to someone else, should be avoided. I think I'll pass on your information to the other party and I see what better we can do. Dear friends, we are living in an age where all of us run short of time, but then all of us want to communicate. And communication with a person sometimes becomes a memorable event, and you, either as an individual or as a member of an organization, should try your level best to leave a mark or an imprint that your organization believes in having a proper, cordial, cooperative conversation or communication, because that alone can help in business transactions and all. With this, we come to the first part of this lecture, and in the second part of the lecture, we shall be talking about the use of cell phones, etiquettes, and then other media through which we communicate. Thank you very much.